and he with her, though it had never been his intention to complicate his life with love. And he had a son, his second stroke of luck. But then it was because of that son he lost the woman who against all odds had melted the frozen carapace that had enclosed his heart. My relationship with my father was always cordial. No word of anger passed between us, no hint of recrimination on his part, nor blame on mine for his coolness toward me. He hired a nanny to raise me. Henrietta was her name, and when I was 9, he shipped me off to a boarding school on the island. We never kissed. I don't remember my father ever kissing me, even when I was a very young child. After our brief formalities, he retired to his room, or rather his suite of rooms that included his study, a bedroom, and a bathroom, and which was closed off from the rest of the house by a heavy mahogany door, which he kept locked. I went to mine, a simple bedroom at the back of the house, with a rather large bed, the first and only one I had after I was removed from my crib, my father anticipating my lengthening limbs. There was also a dresser for my clothes, and a desk and chair where I did my homework. My father and I had our meals in a darkened dining room. It seems odd to say the dining room was dark, for we lived in the tropics, and if not every day, most days the sun spilled rays out of the sky with such ferocity that even the wide-spreading trees could not protect the delicate shoots of new grass from withering beneath them. The sun would have found its way through our windows, too, if they were not covered with heavy dark drapes, the ends taped to the walls. What light there was in the house came from dimly lit lamps on the scattering of small tables in the living room, or from electric light bulbs overhead, their wattage so low that though my father had Henrietta bring the newspaper to him every morning with his breakfast, he could barely read the print. He would snap the newspaper open, squint his eyes up and down the page, and then snap the newspaper closed again, taking it back with him after breakfast to his rooms, where he kept a reading lamp on his desk. I don't remember how old I was, or if anyone had told me, but I understood at an early age that because my father was in mourning, the house was in mourning, and so I never tried to open the drapes, at least not in my father's presence, and I never suggested that he get brighter bulbs for the fixtures on the ceiling. The kitchen, though, was brightly lit, for Henrietta, who remained in my father's employ as his housekeeper after I no longer needed her to feed and dress me, refused to abide by his funereal behavior. "If he wants to live in a tomb, that's his business," she said to me, "but I'm alive. There'll be time enough for me to go in the dark when they put me 6 feet under." So Henrietta kept all the windows in the kitchen wide open, no curtains, no shades, shutting them only when rain fell. Even the back door was left open. When my father protested, stray dogs often found their way to the back door. She threatened to quit. But Henrietta had become indispensable to my father. She cooked his meals according to his taste, washed and ironed his clothes, kept his house clean. She never pried into his comings and goings, and she never gossiped. If she had opinions of her own beyond her notion that it made no sense rushing the dark will come when it will come. It don't need your help, she told him many times. She kept her thoughts to herself. She rarely spoke to my father unless to answer a question he asked her, but I think the real reason he tolerated Henrietta's refusal to keep the back door closed and her insistence on having the kitchen flooded with light was that she took me off his hands. I loved her. She had an aura about her. I don't mean there was a halo over her head. I mean she glowed. Her face, arms, and legs shone like a newly minted penny. And she was that color, too. Penny-colored brown, not bronze. Once when I remarked on the sheen of her skin, she laughed and told me that if I used Vaseline, I would shine like her, too. But it was her goodness that made her shine. Her kindness that poured out of every word she said to me and all the things she did for me. My world was centered in the bright light of Henrietta's kitchen, and it was through her back door that I walked to school and back, that I left to play with my friends, and it was there that a little